Okay, hi, my name is Ben. So for the project, we have to talk about running form through all the phases, and then we need to talk about dynamic stretching, static stretching, when to use them, and then I'll show you how to take your heart rate. So let's first start with running form. Um, and so for running form, overall, you want to stay loose. So we'll start with our upper body. So you want everything in line when you're running, starting with your head. So if I'm running in this direction, okay, I want my head neutral position, not lean forward, not tip back, not looking down, not side to side, not wobbling when I run. I want to look straight forward to the horizon or about 20 feet ahead, something like that, just off into the distance. Or if I'm looking at you guys, I should be looking straight ahead. So next we'll go down, neck muscles, shoulder muscles. You have your shoulders relaxed. You don't want to be all tensed up like this. Because when you're tensed up like this, you're taking energy away from the rest of your body when it should be used for running. Okay, so you keep your shoulders nice and relaxed like this. Chest, not flexed, belly here. Arms, so when you're running, right, and forgive my small amount of space in my apartment, when you're running, your arms are swinging. Your arms are swinging to help give you momentum as your body goes forward. So when your arm's in front of your body, it can be bent up to 45 degrees, kind of up in here. When it's by your side, it can be at 90, okay? And when it comes back, depending on how fast you're running, you can stay like this, or it can extend out to about 150 degrees. It should be out like this. So, you're running, all this is loose. Head is forward, eyes forward, onto the horizon, shoulders relaxed, arms, this, your hands. So, your hands, you want your hands to be relaxed as well, because if you have a fist like this, right, it moves all of this, it tenses up all through your shoulders. So, and you don't want to be like this either, because then your hands are rigid. So keep your hands loose, loose little fist. The book talks about act like you're holding a feather between your fingers. So you act like you're holding a feather, right? Hands are loose, they're not clenched tight like this. So now we'll get down to the hips. So your hips, you want your hips facing the way that you're gonna run. So if I'm running towards you guys, my hips should not be twisting a lot side to side. When you're running, right, they might move, they're gonna move up, down a little bit just with the flex of the joint, and your stomach, it might turn ever so slightly, just a little bit, just as your legs go by. But you don't want big twisting motion. Once again, that's taking energy away from what you're wanting to do, which is run as efficiently as possible. So first thing we're gonna talk about, because the book talks about it first, is a landing phase. And we're gonna talk about it for the forefoot strike instead of the heel strike, because the heel strike is more for, it said if you're running less than 8 minute mile, or longer than 8 minute miles. Okay, so that's relatively slower pace. So more advanced as you're running, right? You're landing with your forefoot. You're gonna land ever so slightly on the outside of your foot, roll to the inside of your foot, heel last, okay? So as you're landing, and you don't want your foot to be way out in front. If your foot's way out in front, you have to pull your weight forward. And if it's back here, then you don't get a good push off. So you want it right under the center of gravity. So you run like here, under your weight, or under your center of gravity. So next, sporting phase is landing, and you're gonna move that into pushing. So the pushing phase is important. That's what carries your momentum forward. So if I've just landed on my right foot, outside ever so slightly here, right? Heel contacts last, right under my body. This leg's coming through. This leg is pushing. So my forefoot is gonna be the last thing to leave the ground, and I wanna leave it as far behind as I can naturally. So I don't wanna try and drag my leg, but you don't wanna pick it up right here, okay? So you're running, right? Just slow jog. So once again, I don't have that much space. So your knees need to be slightly bent when your foot hits ground, because you're landing locked leg like this. It's hard on your joints, and it's gonna decrease your efficiency because you're slamming real hard into the ground instead of kind of gliding. And next, we're going to talk about so we talked about rolling towards your toes, leaving foot behind you. So now we'll talk about stretching. So what you want to do before you run is dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching is things with movement. So not your typical like touch your toes, stuff like that. Because dynamic stretching is made to warm up all your muscles, get your body moving. That way you don't just take off running and your muscles are still tight and the blood's not flowing to them. It can cause injury pretty easily. So some good dynamic exercises is just jumping jacks. So everybody kind of knows how to do a jumping jack, right? You're here, come out and out and out and out and like that. So you can do 15 of those. You can do more if you feel like you need to. And then another one is the 4-count toe touch. So not just a straight toe touch, right? 4-count toe touch. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can do 10, 15 of these. It's gonna stretch out the back of your legs a little bit. It's gonna get your upper body moving. It's gonna get everything warm, blood flowing to everywhere it needs to run. So when you're done running, you need to stretch to pull out the debris from your muscles, because your muscles get torn when you exercise them. They tear ever so slightly and then they repair, and that's how they get bigger. So some static stretching, and we talked about in the book not sitting on the ground, because sometimes elements are not optimal to sit on the ground. So a good one to do, abdominal stretch. Sometimes, especially maybe you get a little side ache, something like that, which has happened to me when I ran before. You take your hands, place them back here. You can lean, and you want to stretch all these muscles through here. So you lean back. That. You can hold it for 30 seconds. Stretch to the point where there's pressure. You can feel that it is stretching, but you don't want to ever go to this point of pain, because something's hurting. That means it's not good for your body, hence why it's hurting. And you can hold that for 30 seconds. Another one is just a toe touch. Stretches out the back of your legs, stuff like that. So you're here, right? Feet together, a little spread. Hands, you have a slight bend, just ever so slightly, or you can keep them like this, right? Here. Touch your toes. You shouldn't be bouncing up and down, and if it's hurting back here, then you also need to move your hands up a little bit to where it doesn't hurt. You can go down here, great. All right, you can hold that for 30 seconds. So those are just 2 examples, static stretching, and then the other 2, dynamic stretching. Dynamic needs to be done before, static stretching needs to be done after. So now we go over how to take your pulse. You have pulses on your wrist, you have a pulse right here. Those are the 2 easiest to feel. So I have a stopwatch here. I'm just gonna do it for 30 seconds, multiply it by 2 instead of 15 times 4, maybe get a little bit more accurate. So here we go. Okay. 31 seconds. So mine was around 40 and 30 seconds. So 80, that's fairly close to resting. I've been moving around a little bit, so it's elevated. I actually went to the doctor this morning, and so waking up and then just going to the doctor, heart rate was at 68, which is good resting heart rate. We also talked about in the book how to find your max heart rate. So your max heart rate, it's 220 minus your age. So I'm 21, 220 minus my age, 21, 199. So my heart rate's over 199, it's a problem. And then obviously if you're 100 years old, then your max heart rate's 120, because 220 minus 100, 120. So you guys get the gist. So yeah, overall, just a quick recap, right? Head forward, eyes looking at the horizon. Neck, shoulders relaxed. Arms here, 45 degrees in front, 90 here, up to 150 in the back, depending on how fast you're running, okay? Hips, you need to point where you're going, not a bunch of side to side motion, okay? Legs, talking about landing, forefoot strike, right? Outside of the foot, just barely roll to the inside, heel comes last, under my center of gravity, pushing off, leaving that foot behind as far as I can, and repeat to run, Okay, good, big, important part is staying loose up top. It helps you conserve energy, along with breathing through your belly instead of just real short through here. You wanna, right, from here, and then kind of like that instead of, so breathing is also very important. Hands loose little fist like this, okay? So those are some basics on running form, and then some stretches to do before, after, and then how to check your heart rate. Thanks for watching.